think, yeah, your video starts. That was a notification. Yeah, I think we are live now. Okay, no one is watching. Yeah,
We'll just talk amongst ourselves then. That's fine.
yeah, we keep talking among ourselves, like like every Sunday.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
welcome everyone who isn't watching.
yeah. Well, I mean, welcome everyone watching the recording, but also this one. We also uploading them on YouTube. So we're gonna share them from there, and if anyone's watching on YouTube, actually, if anyone watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel uh, and leave a comment. So today is another. I don't know. Should we call them reaction videos or just like reflections on songs, or song lyrics?
It's not really a reaction if we can't play the
Yeah,
song, is it?
yeah. We can't play the song because unlike YouTube, where on YouTube you can play a video, but you need to, if you stop it and talk, YouTube will allow you to do it. But Facebook, by the time you play a few seconds of any um, uh, copyrighted material, they will drop the stream. They cut you off. So that's why we sharing the video a couple of days in advance, so everyone has the opportunity to listen to it. But if you're watching the recording, you can pause and go listen to The God That Failed by Metallica if you haven't heard it or you haven't heard it recently. Because to be honest, I haven't listened to it for years now. So it was a few years from the last time I listened to this song. But so, what uh, your first reaction on that, Roger? Oh,
Um,
sorry
First
to
reaction.
interrupt you.
Oh,
Before you start, we need to say, because we need to, like, the lyrics of the songs are written as a response to James Hetfield's mother's death, and James Hetfield grew up in a Christian Science, as a Christian Science believer, which they teach that if you got sick, you don't go to the doctor, you just pray for God to heal you. And his mother actually died from cancer because she refused treatment because of her belief. So, yeah, go on.
yeah, I was just about to say, how about giving us a backstory, George? Yeah, first reaction. I mean, it's an angry song, isn't it?
Hmm.
It's there's a lot of pain in there. Um,
Just put some
maybe some,
lyrics.
yeah, maybe some questioning as well. I mean, first thoughts. I mean, it's
Yeah.
talking about uh, her or his mother being let down, I think, by the faith she had,
Hmm.
which I have to say, sort of maybe by the teaching she had in that particular sect.
Yeah. You can say
Um,
like for me, most of the time it's like the belief system that betrays you, isn't it? Not so much your faith, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, I think it's the teaching, and I mean, Christian Science, I guess, is one of a few that sort of discount medical science,
Mm.
which I think got to say, people, so medical scientists, doctors, whatever, have a God given talent,
Yeah.
um, and I guess so. Health warning, sort of use doctors. Yeah, it's
Yeah, and especially, I mean, the more to the further back you go to Metallica's lyrics, the angrier they get. Like there is a lot of anger and a lot of pain on Hetfield's lyrics, and he was part of a documentary I watched once. Was about fatherhood. I'm not sure if it was a Christian documentary or not because they weren't bringing God at all on the documentary, so it was a bit unclear for me. But there was a the group of people that they did the documentary was like a group of people that they were working on uh, they're working with fathers and sons primarily, and helping them to rebuild their own relationships. And they have like different interviewees. So James Hetfield was one of them, and he was actually talking a lot about his relationship with his father. Like a lot of the lyrics of his lyrics that actually like talk about his father and how angry he was with him. And actually, he blames his father for his mother's death.
Okay.
Yeah, he was saying that himself. Like, do you know why mom died? Like, because you left, and that's what happened. Like, his father left them at some point, just walked away of their marriage and just left them on their own. So there's a lot of backstory, and he was also saying like, pain is a great it's a great fuel for songs. Like,
Mm.
it's a it's a recipe for success.
Yeah.
because because a lot of people can relate
Yeah.
to that. Like,
Well,
how many
it's a
kids
broken
that
world,
yeah,
isn't it?
how many kids
Well,
that they grow up angry about their fathers, about God? They got related, and it's funny that Hetfield doesn't question God's existence. So he doesn't
no.
say because that happened, God doesn't exist. It's like that happened. I'm angry with God.
Mm.
I'm really angry with God, like because He did this to me. He allowed this to happen to me. And even now, he doesn't describe. I don't think he ever identifies an atheist.
Okay.
Right now, I'm not sure. Like, but as far I have researched, he was never like a self-confessed atheist. But right now, he's more described himself as a spiritual person or whatever. I think it's in a way for me the way I take it is like he still believes he wants to believe in a higher power, but due to his upbringing, he struggles with the idea of God. This is my understanding of
Okay. Yeah.
his what he said. I might be wrong, but it's like this is how I understand it.
I mean,
Uh,
one of the things that struck me, I mean, at the first sort of pull and sort of seeing the backstory and then reading the lyrics for the first time, I thought, well, he's angry at the church that misled his mother. But actually, looking closer at the lyrics, it's you say, he's not angry with God. He's not even angry with the church or the sect. The anger seems to be, I mean, it's a cross between anger and disappointment with his mother that she took it so seriously.
yeah, because his mother could make
He's yeah, he's angry about the level of her faith in what she'd been told,
but his mother
not the
could
people who
be
told her.
alive, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's almost akin to victim blaming, I guess. And
Yeah,
she was following the teaching in good faith, I guess, albeit. And I guess we'll get on to whether quality of the teaching. But the anger's about her that sort of the pride she took, the pride she felt, that when she was kneeling,
yeah,
it's aimed at his mother, which surprised me.
yeah, yeah. I mean that. I don't know, because grief is a funny feeling. Uh, I have I never felt it myself, so I never felt angry with my mother's passing or my stepdad's, but I know people that there was this guy that he he died of pneumonia actually when we were serving together. We were doing a national service together, and he had an underlying lung condition he had, and because he gone through the special forces training over the winter, he got pneumonia and that killed him. And remember his brother on the funeral, that was like, I will never forgive you, like, you know what you did, like, you know, I don't think he was like, you know, bitter with his brothers, like, you know, he was angry, basically.
Mm.
Like, obviously I don't know how he's like 20 years later. I never met the guy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, grief is a strange thing, and I guess it's there's an element of here. You let yourself be taken from me, sort of thing.
mm, yeah,
Um,
and sometimes with grief is because recently I had a conversation about grief is we have you have stereotypes about grief, isn't it?
mm,
We can a lot of time you see people losing family members and you don't see them on the floors crying their guts off, but you know someone may log 50 hours of Call of Duty,
yeah.
but this is their way to process their grief, isn't it? They say, you know,
Is that processing it or is that hiding from it? I think there's a bit of both, isn't there?
I think it's both because at the same time you want to escape, you don't want to be in your body
Yeah.
at that time. But at the same time, that helps you to process it because, like, you, at the end, you have to deal with it. You have to face it.
Mm.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
think the very first few, you know, the first reaction, I don't know, first few days, weeks, months is, yeah, you have to survive it basically,
Yeah.
and that's why with grief counseling, they always advise against going into grief counseling straight after you experience it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So always allow you like, you know, take a few weeks off, like,
Yeah. It'd be too raw.
process it in your head, your feelings and everything. It's very raw to go into
Mm.
counseling, and then like, after a few weeks, go into to I think it's like 5 or 6 sessions they do, and yeah, you can process actually what feelings you can actually identify your feelings better because when it's raw, it's like everything is all over the place in your head, isn't
Mm.
it? You can, yeah.
Well, it's sort of understand the anger as a response, I guess. And thinking back to when my mother died, and I mean, she was old and it wasn't unexpected, but I still found myself, I don't know, just more irritable than normal. I started sort of snapping at the kids and stuff like that,
Mm.
and I had to actually sort of take myself out of it and sort of get a grip, really. But I was getting angry, and there was nothing to be angry about. It was just one of those things. And as I say, she'd led a long life. She was over 90, and she'd been ill for a while. So, but it still gets to you, and anger's an easy sort of outlet.
Yeah, it's a raw feeling, and it's funny when I was going through the lyrics myself, and I was like, yeah, there's a lot of anger there. It's like without realizing, we kind of carry on with the same theme, isn't it, from
Mm.
last time? And yeah,
Yeah,
and that's we weren't thinking, and like that's to say that we we do very minimum preparations for this
that's
live
for
streams,
sure.
isn't it? Like.
It shows, I think.
But I mean, to be honest, for me, I love it because it allows it allows like the you know s- God's spirit to intervene and makes the conversation a little bit more interesting and more like I don't know, uh, raw, basically, without a lot of faff around it.
Yeah, yeah. Who'd have thought we're unscripted?
Yeah, I believe it. Like, yeah, like I remember the days at the Pentecostal church. Nothing was scripted. Stand up there and like see what happens.
Let the spirit lead.
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing that comes out of his lyrics is that Hetfield writes a damn good lyric. And
Yeah, yeah.
there's some good wordplay in there, or sort of use of words. I love the healing hand held back by the deepened nail. I mean, there's some depth
Where
behind
was
that.
that?
Oh, you went past it. Back up one.
Ah, yeah, this one. Broken in the promise.
Yeah,
Broken is the promise, betrayal, the healing hand held back by the tip and the nail. Follow the god that failed.
yeah. I mean, that's well, that whole sort of section. It's quite a powerful lyric.
Mm. For me, it's also, I have experienced this like enough times in my life at my path as a Christian. I mean, especially like I think the biggest fail of Pentecostalism is the offer sensationalism. Oh God, I cannot pronounce.
Sensationalizing,
Yeah, that's the word.
right?
Yeah. Also, I learned a lot of things about God in the Pentecostal, within Pentecostalism, but that obsession to make everything too spiritual, too prophetic, it is damaging. Uh, but yeah, so that on the broken is the promise. That when I read it, it's like it brought so many memories. And I
Okay.
remember it was actually a family friend that um, she got cancer, and so actually when we first met them, she was already undergoing chemos, and she was struggling with cancer for quite a long time, and there was like prophecies in the church, I'm gonna heal you, and my hand is be strong upon you, and my name will be glorified, and yada yada yada, and then she died.
Yeah, and that's where
And
it
actually,
sort of
yeah.
goes wrong, isn't it?
And
It's
I was talking with one of their sons, because they weren't a lot younger than me, so about like 3 4 years younger than me.
mm,
So we're quite like we're seeing each other out like at the cafes. And I was talking with one of their son, and he told me this, like, what happened to all those prophecies.
yeah, and I think it's yeah, the whole sort of prophecy thing. It's very easy, it seems, for people to wrap wishful thinking up in
Mm.
prophecies, and that's not to say that God can't heal. You know, know of all sorts of examples where God does heal.
Mm.
But when you start sort of making absolute statements
Yeah.
and wrapping it up in spiritual talk, it's almost like sort of trying to wish something into
The
existence. And
biggest
that's,
problem with those was like they will wrap as a proper prophecies, like God is speaking now through my mouth.
yeah.
So it's not me that
But
I'm speaking; it's literally God taking over my body and talking to me.
hmm. But
And
on a more trivial sort of topic, maybe, or less personal, we had the whole thing with the American elections, all the prophecies about Trump sweeping. It's the same thing, isn't it? It's talking things
I mean,
into.
the crazy stuff with this is like even now they still held those prophecies.
Yeah,
So they're
and
saying no, Trump. It was they. I mean, it was really. I mean, it was at the same time hilarious and depressing.
mm,
There was this guy who was saying, this preacher was saying, Trump is not a president because he doesn't want to be president. If he walks into the White House now, God will make him a president. It's like,
Yeah, and it's
regardless of what, regardless if you believe that he will be a better president than Biden, those things are surreal. Like you cannot make those things happen. It's like
right, yeah, exactly, and it's I don't know. It's people using words like prophecy basically to manipulate other people's opinions, isn't it?
I mean, the saddest
Um,
thing is like a lot of times, like on those times, like with those the cancer victims in our church, it wasn't to manipulate anyone. It was like it was.
no, but
I think we're manipulating our own selves.
yeah, it's turning your wishful thinking into something spiritual, and I don't. I mean, as I said, firm believer in supernatural healing. I've seen it with my own eyes. And I've prayed for people and seen healing, but it's not a guarantee,
Yeah,
and it's not. It will, healing can come in many forms, and the fact that we see the healing coming in a removal of a disease,
yeah,
that the healing could come in an acceptance of a disease. We live in a broken world. Disease happens. It that's what sin did. The timing might be different. If the impact on people around might be changed by the prayer. The prayer is important, but to second guess how God is going to respond to a prayer, I think is
yeah,
dangerous.
yeah. I think something I read a few years ago. I don't remember who said it, which book was it, but it was saying something. God not always heals, but always cures. So the cure could come
So,
with a form of death.
yeah,
So you die.
yeah,
But I think sometimes like we become so fixated on like, and it's sometimes why we want the healing. And I will go back to it. It's like because as Paul says, like if we hope only to this life, then we are like. Uh, but he said something like, you know, that what's the point if you believe, only if you hope only on this life. So if someone dies, then you know our faith says like it's not the end. It's just another. Obviously, like death is something completely unknown and it's absolutely normal and and it's fine to have a fear of death, but it's the death anxiety actually is where the problem starts.
yeah. I think that there's an element of the healing comes on at a spiritual level rather than a physical.
Yeah,
So quite often you find sort of people become, I don't know, accepting of the situation, or the people around them become more accepting. Oh, there's a spiritual healing. They feel better about stuff,
yeah, yeah. But sometimes,
or closer to God. And it's not necessarily a physical cure. Sometimes it can be, but yeah, everyone dies, and everyone, so no one's going to live forever.
death, taxes,
Certainly
and
with these
internet
physical.
trolls, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Death and taxes
And internet trolls,
and internet trolls. Yeah, the new version.
the new version,
Yeah.
like the 21st century version.
So
Yeah,
yeah, all you people not watching out there, feel free to troll.
but in a way, it's like when we get so fixated on the healing, is because I had I mentioned that quote to a guy that we used to work together for a while, and he was like a very like he was your typical Pentecostal, like faith healing and a lot of other like very like he was the stereotype,
Hmm.
uh, and he got upset. He got really angry. He got really upset when I said this to him. I was like, then we kind of deny our own nature, isn't it? We say like, God
Yeah,
will always healing. It's like, so then why we die at the end?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's God didn't create us to die, but that was the
Yeah.
fall. That's the whole
Mm.
Genesis story. I mean,
I don't
the
know.
other
Yeah.
thing I was going to say, the other thing with healing, quite often, it's putting our own sort of spin on what we think needs healing.
Yeah.
So I read an article. It was by a blind journalist, an atheist, but he was writing for big newspapers, but he was blind, and he was talking about the number of Christians who rush up to him on the tube and say, let me pray for you. I can
Mm.
restore your sight. God will heal you. And he
And
said,
God doesn't heal him.
and yeah, nothing happens. But he said, the point of his piece was, I don't want my sight to be healed. I've been blind since birth. I cope fine. I've got a good
Yeah.
job. I'm well paid. I've got a house. I've got a wife. I deal with my blindness. That is not the problem. If they want something to pray for, there's loads of stuff in my life they
Yeah.
could pray for. But
And
sometimes when we look at people, we think we see what needs healing,
mm, it's actually
and it's not
funny.
always the case.
One of the podcasts I listen religiously. It's called the Nomad podcast. Or everyone wants to check it out. One of the co-hosts, he's blind. He's partially sighted, basically. Like he can still see during the day, like bits and bobs, but
Mm,
in the dark, he's like completely blind. And he was he was actually they were actually talking about this kind of stuff, and he was saying he felt real he's he gets really upset. He's like really not upset. He's just quite cross with that because it is a bit patronizing. Because like you see a blind person, he's straight away he
mm.
feels sorry about them. Uh, not sorry about them. I don't think, and it's not the right expression. That it's like you feel that they less than human.
Yeah,
To feel sorry for them, like it's natural human reaction, isn't it? Like
yeah,
because they missing a sense. So, but yeah, and they always he had a lot of people going to him like, "Do you want me to pray for you?" And they will never ask, if he said yes, they will never ask, "Okay, what do you want me to pray about?"
yeah,
They will like
and,
assume that this is what I need. I need to find my, and because the guy he got blind, he wasn't born blind. He's
mm,
blind and start developing on his late adolescence and early 20s. It was like basically it was a genetic disease. Uh, so they couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't operate him. They couldn't do absolutely. But he was saying exactly this, like, why you think I need to? Oh, that's my most burning
yeah,
matter in my life. I might be, it might be absolutely fine being blind. Like, well, not absolutely fine. I might be all right. I made my
yeah,
peace of being
yeah,
blind. I accepted it, and now after a lot of years, he just straight away say no. If someone
yeah,
wants to go and ask him, like, no, thank you. Like, I'm fine. I don't want prayer
yeah. And
because he knows
same
that
thing.
they
Yeah,
want to pray for him to find his side, and that was actually one of the things I wanted to say earlier. Uh, in our church, in our last church in Greece, we had two ladies actually that both of them they die of cancer, quite close to each other, and so we all were praying for healing and everything. And one day there, we get like, they got the clear, so they're clear of cancer and everything. Oh, we were like, praise God. And what we were ignoring is while you're still on chemo, your first results are always. So when you finish your cycle, your first results are always clear. It's very not. I'm not sure if it's always. Don't quote me on that, but it's not unusual for your first test result to become clear because your all the
Okay.
chemicals inside your blood, your body, they still hold the cancer in.
Yeah.
So that's why they keep doing tests. So and actually that was what happened with both of them. And when they both died, we start questioning God. It was like not the existence of God. It was like is God like playing having a laugh with us? It's like no, literally with like what's going on? Like, but two things we were ignoring, and I kind of realize of them the last quite recently. Like one, some of us we wanted healing because we had that idea. Like if we get a gift of healing in our church, everyone will start coming to us,
Mm.
and it will be the super duper church in the area where like legs are growing. No, it's
But
not the
it,
shoe. If you don't pulling the shoe on, your legs are growing. But also, both of them, they were in very good spirits.
yeah, and that's the thing. I think it's
So they died. They were very good spirits. They were like
yeah,
their faith in God was like really strong, and they was like they went in like with a head looking straight up. It's like I'm dying. Like okay, no, it's just like okay, I have cancer. If I die, I'm. It's better for me to die because like I'm gonna have fun with God
yeah,
now. Like
yeah, and I mean,
it should be.
getting back
I don't have to pay taxes anymore. Haha.
getting back to the song, I wonder if all these people in the church are saying, "Oh, you'll be healed. Just have faith." Whether they actually asked her what she wanted out of it, and yeah, it's there's a lot to be said for expectation management. But yeah, I mean, the stuff I've looked at on healing, the first thing they say is, ask the person what they actually want prayer for, because it's not always the obvious. Some people just want to be at peace. Some people want their relatives to be at peace. Uh, you know, I think most people accept, unless in extreme circumstances, these things happen.
I mean, the
So
most
it's
hilarious prayers I have to me, it was to be saved. And it was like,
okay.
I'm already a Christian. I'm already like, I was, I was already born again. Like, I already gave my life to Christ. Like,
Mm.
why are you praying for me to get to be saved? But this is the thing. Is like, we just want to tick the box. We prayed for you, like
Yeah,
yeah, no, like everything's fine now. Yeah,
but yeah, I think maybe the sort of the title of this should have been the sort of church of a sect that failed. Um, I mean, clearly, she and a lot of other people are let down by this sort of teaching that disregards the miracles of medical science.
yeah. But at the same time, is you can still stay on the God that failed because
Oh yeah,
it was a God. It was a God that failed, isn't it?
yes,
And because I have
yeah,
quite a lot of friends. Most of my friends, actually, my childhood friends are atheists. So I'm quite like
yeah,
the odd
mine too.
one.
Actually,
I'm quite the odd one with my childhood friends.
oh,
Uh,
never thought of you as being odd, but
yeah, making it quite interesting conversations a lot of time. Uh, but we debated God like for years, and a lot of times like I realized that the God that they rejected, he never existed anyway.
Hmm.
So because they denied a God that wasn't existing anyway. So, but I guess like after all of these years, they, I mean, An odd thing I see sometimes, like people losing their faith and they becoming better human beings. So it's like sometimes they're like, no, you're fine, like where you are. Carry on doing what you do. Like, so don't come back. It's very strange. It's like it is like when they actually lost their faith, the Holy Spirit came into their lives,
Mm.
and they live Christ-like lives.
But then yeah, I wonder if that's because they're not living up to the expectations
Mm.
of the other people in the church.
They
They're,
don't
they're,
feel
they're
like
they're
that.
just living the life that God wants them to lead.
Mm. But also, they
Um,
don't. If you think about that, it are especially in the Protestant world, most Christians are guilt ridden. They
mm,
try to satisfy an angry deity. So I guess those people, when they're losing the faith, they have no one to please, basically, and they just do things.
okay.
They're doing things out of the goodness of their own heart. And that was actually a research in America. I don't remember who done it. That actually saw that non-religious people are more charitable than Christians.
I, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, people are people, and
Yeah.
I don't think professing a faith necessarily makes you a better person. Reading the
Mm.
Bible and actually doing it right might make you a better person, but that's, you know,
No,
the two aren't
repeat debate.
necessarily the same thing. Um,
Yeah.
and it's
But
yeah. I mean, and again, it's how the message is given in the churches. I mean, you were talking earlier about Pentecostal churches making everything super spiritual.
yeah.
At the other end of the spectrum, you've got some of the Protestant churches who try and sort of dumb down anything supernatural,
Mm.
and you end up with just a wishy-washy message of a sort of lovey-dovey rainbows and
Yeah.
unicorns god.
Yeah.
And you know, it leads to people that have a very fragile faith because there's just nothing there in the message they've heard
Yeah.
to have a faith in.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. A few years ago, I was used to visit an evangelical church now and again because their pastor was a very good preacher. He always had something to say, actually. Uh, but I went once. I didn't know he's away. I was actually going there, visiting there to hear his message because it was always something nice to hear. And I didn't realize he was on holidays, and like was another elder was covering, and like pulling my own eyes out was like sound very appealing. It wasn't the things he was saying because he had like this like old school evangelical rigid way of preaching. He was like, I say like I can't stand this.
I think, yeah, but again, it's that. Oh, I'm in church. This is how I've got to behave, or this is how I've got to present a talk, or
Mm.
whatever. If people would just be the natural people God made them to be, I think we'd all get along a lot better.
Yeah.
Um, it's when I mean, yeah, Jesus talked about it with the Pharisees, didn't he? Sort of, the Pharisees with lifting their prayers on the street corner, shouting them out to God to say what wonderful people they are. Well, actually, what God's interested in is a person sort of cowering in the alley round the corner,
Yeah. Yeah.
who's actually a sort of a real sinner repenting. It's all a lot of churches are all about the show of being seen to be there, being seen to be the wonderful person, and all the stuff that they should really be there for is brushed under the
Yeah.
carpet.
I think it's one of the big issues we have at the Salvation Army, like my denomination. We've been seen far too much. I mean, obviously because of the social work that Salvation Army does, but you become too complacent, complacent,
Complicit?
complicit, and my spelling today. It's like, yeah, then like you kind of like you grow idle. Ah, we do social work. That's fine. Like
Yeah.
but actually, it's no we. It's like someone else actually does social work, not you. Like, you know, the people that are down at the street level and they're washing homeless feet.
Yeah.
Those ones they don't. Not you. You just put
But
some money
it's
into a basket. You don't do
and
anything else.
and if it's social work without the sort of the gospel being attached to it, then there's plenty of good social workers that do that. Like you say, there's lots of non-Christians who are very good people.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually
It's
non-religious charities that they been proven to do a lot of better work
mm,
because they have one less thing to worry about. I think yeah, so like we put too much. I mean, to be honest, like I have met personally quite a lot of like even full-time ministers that they are like they're getting paid to do this, but their heart is truly into that. They
mm,
totally love people, and but yeah, like when it becomes an obligation and you try to please a deity, it loses everything.
you can't do that. And I think again, that's ignoring the Bible, isn't it? We're all different parts of the body. Some of us are called to do that sort of stuff. Others aren't,
Yeah,
and we need to be honest about that. If it's not your thing, don't do it.
yeah. But that's going back to the whole like healing. Is one of the things I was thinking is like a lot of times with the expectations of healing, we as you said like we quite ignore the Bible.
Mm.
Like we see like Luke was a physician, like was the closest thing to a doctor
Yeah,
that you could get back then. Like he was the Paul's family doctor, basically. We can put it like this. Uh, and the same thing, the same way like Jesus when he was when he was healing, especially lepers, he was sending them to the priest.
yeah,
So which the priest was another thing, the closest thing to a doctor again, because the priest would. I think probably they may have like they would been taught to recognize everything, and I think it was also in the Old Testament law is that like when you get healed, go to the priest to inspect you and give you the all clear,
yeah,
and that's always what makes me laugh with all of those healers and exorcists. Like there's a church in Thessaloniki where I have some family members there, which every Sunday they cast out demons and healing every sort of like so and I was like, okay, why first of all why you during the pandemic why you didn't go to the hospital and heal all those poor people who are dying out of
mm,
COVID, or where are your we have the actually I have a friend, we're not friends anymore, we kind of grew apart, that he experienced a healing where the doctor was telling him that he lost his finger and they were trying to attach it together and the finger won't attach, and the doctor told him like there's no, just forget about it, your finger's not gonna, for some reason your finger doesn't come together, it doesn't stick. And they had a prayer meeting actually, his finger, because that's a friend of mine, like someone I knew.
mm,
So I know and that person knows we have proofs of what has been before and after. With a lot of the healers, you have a vague before
mm,
and nothing after.
yeah,
So it's always like it kinda the Bible says about you gonna be healed, call the elders, and you're gonna be healed. But like the Bible also says, like you should go to the doctor and get the all
Yeah,
clear,
absolutely. Yeah,
or get to the doctor, go to the
yeah.
doctor, isn't it?
And again, standard advice for healing ministry is when you've prayed for someone, you tell them, if you feel better, let us know, but go to your doctor, get them to check it out.
No, actually, remember another friend that I mean, he was, he had a serious health issue, and he was getting some really strong medications, and he he actually prayed by himself and threw all the pills on the bin. But the pills will make him feel really bad, so he was like really catatonic, depressed. I mean, I would never advise to anyone. I mean, what he did
Absolutely.
was like very risky, but he got healed, and he wasn't saying to his doctor. He was keep going to the doctor, and he never told him that he ditched the medication. The doctor would ask him, "Did you taking your medication?" Like, yeah, yes, I'm taking it. Like, and he wasn't taking anything. I mean, his daughter actually got a healing her back. So those situations, like they think that personally, first of all, like you know what was happening, and you know that person is now good, and also had the doctors sign that off as well, so you can't deny that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And as I say, I've prayed with people and seen physical evidence of healing, and it's undeniable because it's not stuff you've read in a book or seen on the internet or pulling shoes and all the rest of it. It's it's and the most memorable thing, I think, or one of the most memorable things about it. I mean, there were three of us praying, or two of us praying, and the lady who had the issue we were praying for. And her hand was badly swollen before we started, and it was normal afterwards. But we sat around afterwards, and the colour had gone back to normal where it had been very bruised and all this sort of thing. I mean, it was a real sort of physical thing, and we were shocked. And which seems a strange reaction because we'd spent 5 minutes praying for this, and we looked at it and what just happened? Well,
It's funny because not even us we believe it sometimes.
yeah. And I think, well, how little faith have we got? But I guess the other thing about that incident was, the prayers actually came out. It wasn't just sort of we're praying for this because the Bible says we should. On that occasion, the prayers came out of a real sense of compassion for this woman. I mean, I won't go into the details, but she had, it was a long story, and
but then again,
she had issues, and
isn't it?
Oh yeah, and although we were praying, the shock we felt means we had little expectation of seeing any real transformation. Maybe it was God's way of kicking us up the backside and saying,
Yeah.
But yeah, so yes, healing does happen. Not always in the way we want.
Yeah. Because is it Paul that was saying like we either we either die or live, we still belong to Christ, isn't it? What matters, like you either live or die. It's like it's the same way like the three kids in Daniel's book was saying, like
Yes,
we have faith in God.
God can save us, whether
but even if God doesn't save us, we still won't worship you. And what we do, we cut the last part. God will will save us. Like, no, that wasn't the thing, isn't it? Like the whole thing was like, even God doesn't do anything, we still remain faithful. Like, because our hope is not only to this life; it's like in the next as well.
Well, it's it's there in the Lord's Prayer, isn't it? It's Thy will be done, not my will be done. It's maybe we ought to be better at what we pray for.
Yeah, but I think the same time is my one of my mantras when it comes to bad things happening to Christians is like shit happens.
Yeah,
You know, we don't live outside of this world, isn't it?
yeah,
You know, the same way. Take it to what's happening to Ukraine now.
mm,
Christians, the most faithful Christian suffers together with the most despicable atheist.
yeah.
They say the same, then that's next to each other, suffering the same thing. No, God
And
never promised that. Actually, the first thing that Christ, Jesus promised to his disciples is like, you know, you're not gonna get it easy.
yeah, well, if anything, it's meant to be more difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
um,
I think we need to put a little bit of context as well, isn't it? Like, because sometimes I see like Christians in the UK, so now we get persecuted, and people like, come on, get alive, like grow up, boo-hoo. like,
oh man, it was,
someone call you an idiot because you have faith. Oh, I'm gonna get persecuted. Like, boo-hoo, like people getting killed because of their faith. Like, and someone call you an idiot. It's like,
I was talking to someone the other day from the local Russian church, although I think it's largely Latvians and Ukrainians. Um, but they got a number of people there who were Christians in Russia during the Soviet era, and they can tell you stories about persecution. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
You're
getting
actually,
trolled on Facebook doesn't come close.
yeah, you're
It's
actually officially a second-class citizen.
yeah,
That was official line of the party. That not only Christians, everyone that believe to a God is a second-class citizen. You should treat them like crap. You have the right to do it. Like no one.
oh
And
yeah. I mean, you could be arrested and tortured for owning a Bible and things like that. Yeah, it's
but you know what was funny? Because like even like the Soviet Union and Mao's China, you know who they were smuggling Bibles?
yeah.
Jewish merchants. If you want to smuggle something, get a Jew. They were like throughout the history, they were famous smugglers, like
Mm,
on Bibles and like not people, like anything that the status quo was banning. You could, you know, you could find a Jew to smuggle it in, like Bibles, books that have been banned from whatever reason. 1984. No, the Animal Farm. Like, it wasn't a very popular book with the communists. Yeah.
I think we've drifted away from Metallica somewhat, but
Yeah, and we close to an hour, so I think it's good to wrap it up because I mean we can spend another 2 hours talking about it. Uh, yeah, so let's close it here. Okay.
so I think
So
the message is possibly if your church is teaching you stuff, check it with the Bible,
yeah.
because clearly Church of Christian Science is saying don't go to the doctor, and that's just dumb and is not biblical.
One of because I follow some atheist channels on YouTube. There's this guy called his channel called the genetically modified skeptic. I mean the guy through. I mean I really respect him. He's always very respectful of. Obviously, he's critical, but he's always like very
Oh,
respectful towards believers, and he's also critical towards atheists as well.
hmm,
So a lot of times he's criticizing stereotypes that atheists throw to believers in general,
yeah.
and he always finishes videos with "Stay skeptical." And I love it. I totally love it.
Yeah.
Because even as believers, like, you need to. We
Oh
always
man,
need to be
yeah.
skeptical. Like, you don't just because a pastor said it or an elder or
Mm.
an older believer said it. You don't have to take it as true.
No,
As truth. Take it in, think about it, read the Bible, talk about with other Christians, read some more outside of the Bible. You know,
absolutely.
and just form your own opinion.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
church history is full of situations where individuals manipulated the gospel for their own ends.
yeah,
So, yeah, be warned.
yeah. Church history makes Game of Thrones look like a Disney story. Like people get offended with Game of Thrones. You've read
Yeah.
church history.
Uh,
Anyway, so subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Leave us a comment when you actually watch the video. And we will be back, I guess, in a couple of weeks' time with God
that's
knows
gonna
what.
that's gonna be Easter, so maybe the week after.
Uh, no, 2 weeks is the Wednesday after
Isn't it?
Easter.
Oh, that's
Tuesday
okay.
after Easter. Yeah.
Oh
Next week
man, is it?
is Holy Week.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's come round.
so
Okay.
God knows what we're gonna talk about it. So
And if anyone's got any ideas for song lyrics,
yeah,
stick them
that's
in the
the other thing. If
comments.
anyone has an idea, let us know. And that's the other thing. We always decide a couple of days before we go live. Like, what we gonna talk today? I think
Yeah,
Rob actually dropped us some more song recommendations, so we may have a look at them. And we might have Slipknot next time. Who knows?
yeah,
Okay.
cool.
Bye.
All right, bye all. God bless.